to give praises to the great God Allah and honors to his holy prophet, honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. We come forth again before you with yet another grand Moorish perspectives. I'm your host instructor, Dr. Shahidi Money Mohadi Shabazel, and my ancient Comedian high name being the same as Dr. Shedawaminti Muhammad Shepsuel. And we have a powerful drawing to bring on the Manifest family. Very powerful manifestation of a lesson and a blessing. And this actually was going to be considered, a part of our late night library session, and we decided to bring it right into our Moorish lesson, so to speak. We got a grand drawing to bring to our family. And it's going to be a powerful bill, so to speak. So we encourage our family to have their paper and their pens on handy, so that they can follow us in regards to dealing with what we had to bring forth. And we got a good little bit of ground to cover, but we going to move efficiently, and demonstrate what it is to be demonstrated, so to speak. And hopefully we will clear up some cobwebs of confusion that our people have as it relates to this subject matter, religion. And you often hear us talk about this all the time. The natural way of life, is man basically being moving in the science of the nature of the great God. And, the Grand Quran, this was referred to as Hunafa. That's the actual word that was used in the Grand Quran in reference to the nature in which man was created. And it said that this is the nature in which he has been created. Notice it says nature in which he has been created. And there is no change in that. This is what we want to emphasize tonight. And it also plays on the measure where we deal with what our prophet said when he talked about the uniting of the Holy Quran, the Great Quran of Mecca. So we're going to touch on a few principles to show you how what we demonstrate, which we call know thyself, Sutanoti, Sheduneta, comedically, Sutanoti, and they like to use what we call the Hikapta. European like to call it Greek, but Sutanoti is really Hikapta. And so that's what we're going to be emphasizing. This is very important that our family get this so they come out of the confusion of constantly, I think you would say, pitting what it is that they think is the truth or believe is the truth against itself. Because many of our people do this and don't even know it. They are pitting the truth against the truth and trying to make one portion of the truth be greater than itself. It don't make sense when you understand the universal aspect of the measure. And so this class demonstrated tonight will definitely be one that actually bring our family to a level of hopefully some unity in the thought, so to speak. We ain't trying to make one come into what it is they don't want to accept. We just putting the truth out there, and what you do with it after that right there, that's on you. You see, so this is a very powerful measure. We're going to show you how the truth is one. And we're going to show you how there is no conflict in the truth. It's us, who are creating this conflict in our own mind. It's us that's creating this conflict in our own way of thinking, you see. And so we're going to show you the oneness. We're going to bridge the gaps because this is what we do. Want to give honors to our family out there, that's always checking in YouTube. Hopefully they had a chance to digest other measures that we set out in the past few lessons and different lessons that we put out here. The algorithm is definitely bearing witness to what it is that we are bringing on the manifest, and we honor you regardless of where you come from, what you claim you are. or what you embrace as the reality of what it is you stand on, because everybody can get something from the fountain of wisdom that we bring forth when it comes to this Islamism without the schism. So we got some grand drawings, family. I'm telling you, this is going to be a powerful measure. Um, it's gonna give our people some clarity if they want clarity. Now, if they don't want clarity, then there's nothing that we can do to correct that particular mindset, because we know that people will be what they be, embrace what they embrace, and that's just the way it is. But it is our duty, again, that we lay a foundation to show our people that the truth is the truth, no matter where you find it, if it's the truth. We've been taught that the truth is the only thing that changes not. You see? So what are we here to do? If somebody come up in here and they tell you, well, I done heard that, I done seen it, no, they ain't. They haven't seen it. And if they did, they didn't understand it. Because if they understood what we talking about and they heard this all before and they understood it, then they would understand that we've been talking about unity the whole while. If they see demarcation, they see division, they definitely don't understand what it is that we bring into the manifest. Make no mistake about it. So again, what we do here again is not to attack anyone. It's not to, again, put what it is we demonstrate against nobody. Comparing the truth has no need to be compared. We are here to give our people some peace of mind if they want it. We putting keys out here and demonstrations out here so that ones would do their own research. And once you do your own research, then whatever you do after that, it's on you if you choose to continue to live with a demarcated thought pattern. Demarcation means divided, by the way. For those who don't know, it's on you if you choose to live in a mindset of division in your thought pattern. After one is demonstrated means of trying to show you unity, you can't blame nobody for that but yourself. We would be dealing with the concept as well of coming from the degrees of 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. And a lot of this will have to do with man himself, in other words, the Moorish American National, as it relates to dealing with unfoldment upon their special planes of soul. Make no mistake about it. So we have a little ground to cover, but not a whole lot. Our family will be able to get this truth, and all they got to do is make it applicable once we put it out here. Like I said, we're going to do the easy part for our family, and they can deal with the rest later. And so we be working with a lot of diagrams. These diagrams that we use in order to give our family visuals of being able to see certain things, so that will too aid and assist them along the way. We touch on a lot of times even definitions, and we give those definitions so they will make it easier for our family to be able to comprehend exactly what it is that we speak of, because we can't just assume that our family know these things. And if there aren't people that know them, then they can have some clarity, so to speak. So this is very powerful, family. All I can say is that we have some grand measures to bring on the manifest, and the sooner the better. And we just have to be able to be willing to accept the truth when we see the truth, indiscriminately, so to speak. What we ain't looking at, well, he believe this, he think that, they believe this, and all this other stuff. Just accept what you're able to take and keep it moving. You see? So I'm getting ready to share our screen here in a second. I'm just trying to make sure I have this stuff already on the manifest, so that when I put it out here, our family can get it and then do what they will with it. So Once we get this here on the manifest, we're going to get this to your family. We're going to let our family get some insight and grow from this draw. Trust me, when I tell you, we putting it all the way out here. So nobody can have excuse. Can't nobody complain and say that nobody gave them clarity. You know, we finna let you know exactly how you made tonight. And hopefully, again, our family can really get some insight and utilize that knowledge to better themselves and bring themselves out of the condition that they have found themselves in. You see, it don't take long to tell the truth. And that's what we finna bring to you. Like I say, now what you do with this after this is on you. So for the family that's out there watching us, to be feel free to like, share, and subscribe, and let our family know that we here, so that they too can hear what it is that we had to bring forth, and spread the gospel, because we here to teach the omnipotence of man. You know, that's what we demonstrate. We ain't here to beat you over the head with religiosity. We're not here to make our people go into a realm of being religious fanatics and none of that. Okay, so just trying to clear out some of these tabs. And for those who are watching, we getting ready to open up and share this screen real quick. And those who are listening, well then, if you want to see it visually, all you got to do is go right there on the platform on my page. If you friends with me, you can see what we talking about. That way you ain't got to try to rationalize it in your mind, you know, and think something other than what it is that need to be brought forth. So do that. That's on you. That's your due diligence if you choose to do that. If not, all is well. The people that are observing it, they definitely will get where we coming from. So our job is to come here and make it simple. And this is what we doing. I got one more measure I'm opening up here. And then I'm sharing this special demonstration here. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Okay. Okay, there we go. I always want to use that as a tool as well. All right. Let's get started. So remember, our subject title, family, is based upon Ayat 10. And we demonstrate it every night when we opening up, you know, our meeting according to law. If you're looking at our particular video, you see it flowing across the bottom of the screen. You know, as we have stated, he had instituted laws for the government of the world, and he had wonderfully varied them in all beings, and each by his nature conforming to his will. What does this mean? Exactly what the great God Allah said. He hath instituted laws for the government of the world. Oh, we didn't know that there was a government of the world, did we? And then it follows up, he hath wonderfully varied them in all beings. So not only are these laws instituted for the government of the world, but they are very much a part of your being. And each by his nature, conforming to his will. So all of us that have the truth within us, we conform to the truth because it's our nature to conform to the truth. And this is according to the deific will of the great God. Period. You know, it don't get no plainer than that. You know, so let me get to share my screen right now for the family that want to see what it is that we bringing on the manifest. And I actually, this was unfinished, certain pictorial, these first few, but they all is well. We'll get that to our family because we had another thumbnail that we were trying to create. Unfortunately, our computer crashed a few times, and we had to start it up. It may crash even in the midst of the measure, and we'll restart it as we move along. You know, and our angels will be sitting there, you know, as we return, if that be the case. So I'm gonna share this screen real quick. We want to cover this measure, like I said, speedily. Let me make sure I'm opening everything up. I don't need any sound right there. I don't plan on using anything dealing with sound per se. So we can see our prophet here. If you know the photo, our prophet is standing with both of his hands raised. And our chairman gave us the insight in the book of fire. We just covered this recently as this being a representation of the adept's stance and, the prayer. And you can see it actually represents the ability to calm the ethers and also direct the ethers, so to speak, for those who are paying attention to this. The picture that we have up here. And we see our holy prophet was not alone, but he had those there that was a part of his adept circle when he was demonstrating this measure. This is the one where you see the prophet standing up. But we're going to go into where this come from in a minute, this particular expression and what it represents according to the ancient ancestors and how it has to do with the nature of the self and self-mastery. So let me go into this measure because we don't want to waste too much time. In this one portion, and I'm dealing specifically with chapter 1 in our Moorish Holy Quran. I could have did, the chapter 11, 12, so to speak. I could have went into those aspects, but this is most important because it has to do with letting us know that everything that is a part of our way of life or know thyself that we call the old time religion, it is a part and parcel of our being. Regardless of rituals, rites, ceremonies, and forms that people like to demonstrate today and call it religion, there are certain measures that are basically a part of our nature. It came with us, coming into existence, so to speak. One thing we want to touch on before we go anywhere, though, is an special point that's mentioned. And we going one by one. And like I say, we're dealing with the degrees of 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. Because whether we know it or not, that's what chapter 1 is based upon. Starting with one portion, we are told in our Moorish Holy Quran that time never was when man was not. And if life of man at any time began, a time would come when it would end. We are told that the thoughts of Allah cannot be circumscribed, and no finite mind can comprehend things infinite. And we are told that all finite things are subject on the change, and all finite things will cease to be, because there was a time when they were not. The bodies and the souls of men are finite things, and they will change. Yeah, from the finite point of view. The time will come when there will be no more. Moorish Holy Quran, chapter 1. So we understand that man is not the body nor the soul. This is very important that we get this blessing, family. Man is not the body nor the soul. We're going to show you how this is so, not only from the present Moorish paradigm, but this has always been the teaching, and this teaching is extended back in the Kemet. Now, unbeknownst to many of us, when we go into even the Piscean records, and you hear me quote from this measure a lot, I quote the whole thing a lot of time, but I want to deal with a particular portion in a specific measure dealing with this here. And this is what they speak in Proverbs 8:22 and 23. It says, the Lord possessed me in the beginning of his way, before his works of old. I was set up from everlasting, and from the beginning or ever the earth was. Right? This is a statement in the Piscean records made, and it corresponds with what we just talked about. Time never was when man was not. Because we were present before the works of old, before, everything was created. We were set up from everlasting, from the beginning or ever the earth was. The Piscean records bear witness to this. And they even use the word for everlasting, from the beginning, ever the earth was. Before that time, they call it Kadam. And we talk about, the concept of Kadam, even in the Quranic, Kadam is the Hebraic way of saying it, but Kadim is the Arabic way of saying it, meaning the first. So this goes back to what we call the original man, which is really spirit man. You know, time never was when spirit man was not. Spirit man always existed. So spirit man, therefore, through deific will, already was a personification of what it is that we are now striving to be. We just fell when we came into the plane of things made manifest, and we stayed at that level of vibration. So now we need a methodology. We need means of getting back to the original state that we came from. But it's already in us to be what's in us. We just have to raise our thoughts to the ethers of God frequency. 963 hertz, if we're dealing with cymatic frequency, right? This is more science. So now that we see that the Piscean records agree with the Moorish Holy Quran on this aspect, that we were ever present from the beginning with the Creator, well, let's go into the Grand Quran. What does it say following up that particular measure? Surah 7, Ayat 172 and 73. A lot of people don't know that. I keep telling our family, in every book of the Grand Quran, each surah has a heart to that surah. Well, these two verses represent the heart of Surah 7. It's called Al-Araf, the heights. And this is talking about when the great God Allah, draw forth, the children of Adam within the heights before there was a physical creation. It says, when thy Lord drew forth from the children of Adam, we know Adam represent different cycles. So don't get this confused of Adam of 6,000 years ago. We just mentioned Adam Kadman or Kadam, the Kadmanite, the original man. Adam just represent different cycles. We have been taught that this is one individual. This represents just the human family. But there are different cycles. In fact, in this dictionary of the Quran, we used to say it was more than 100,000 atoms, so to speak. But anyway, it says, when our Lord drew forth from the children of Adam from their loins, just like Abraham was said to meet Melchizedek when he was still within the loins of his father, that means that wasn't a physical meeting, that was a spiritual meeting. But anyway, it says their descendants and made them to testify concerning themselves. Am I not your Lord who cherishes and sustained you? In other words, this is the same thing when we say in our 101s, who made you? Am not I your Lord who cherishes and sustained you? We was called forth in the spirit realm before we became manifest. This is why you can never say you're an atheist. This is why you can never say that you don't believe in the Most High, because it's all a part of your nature. This is a one package deal, whether you know it or not. By coming into the plane of things made manifest, you had to come through the plane of soul first. Before you got here, you had to be spirit man before you took on the garb of soul. You see, we're going to get a little further into this in a minute. But when we were called forth in this particular state, it is said, we stated, yeah, we do testify. In other words, yeah, we know who made us. We know who cherished and sustained us. It says this. It says, least ye testify, they testify concerning themselves, right? Or you should say, on the day of judgment of this, we were never mindful. In other words, it's in your nature that you one with God. You already know that who made you. So you can't make up no excuse and say you was never mindful of this, because it was already a part of your being. So it's not in your nature to be evil. It's not in your nature to be a kafirun or a munafiqun, disbelievers and hypocrites. It is in your nature, though, to know who it is who made you. It is in your nature to link your will up with the deific will, though. Ain't no excuses. Prophet Noble Drew Ali told the Moors he came to take away all excuses. So it went on to say in the same surah, in the ayahs, now this is dealing with predestination now. This is dealing with, also in Surah 76, which, I meant to read before that, where it says, Surah 76, Ayat 1, it says, has there not been over man a long period of time when he was nothing, not even mentioned? See, there are three different words that's used to describe man in the Grand Quran. One is Adam, one is Bashar or Basharin, which means the good body, that best of modes that the Quran, and one of them is dealing with al-insan, which represents man. So these different words, 3 words used to describe man, in different phases, so to speak, in different degrees. You see? So man in general is referred to as al-insan, and then we have, the direct reference to the Adam, and then we have the basharin, which represents what we call the good body. We like to call it in the Moorish teachings, flesh divine, spirit clothed and soul made in the form of Allah. Has there not been over man the thought of Allah a long period of time when he was nothing, not even mentioned? In other words, though he was present, he existed within the void of the beginning of creation before creation became manifest. There was a long periods of time, cycles of time. We were present, but not yet made manifest. That's basically what that's speaking of. That's why we say time never was when man was not. Just because he wasn't manifest don't mean he didn't exist. Because spirit man is ever present. You see, and it also went to follow up in Surah 7, Ayat 173. It says, at least you should say, our fathers before us may have taken false gods, but we are their descendants after them. Without then destroy us because of the deeds of men who were futile. Allah ain't gonna let you use that type of excuse to get up out of this, because it's in your nature. Remember, it's in your nature. And if we understand, going right back to what we were speaking of, when we talk about, our special chapter dealing with religion, all you got to do is follow up on that, and it's going to bring you into the plain expression. As we just read it to you earlier, it says he has instituted laws for the government of the world. He wonderfully varied them in all beings, and each by his nature conforming to his will. So it's our nature to conform to the will of Allah. There's a difference between conforming to the will and submitting to the will. We don't say this to sound slick, family. You have to know what it means to conform to the will of the Creator as opposed to submit to the will of the Creator. Let me show you real quick. I'm going to give you the definition of the word conform. Those who are looking, you can see it. Those who hear me, you got it. Okay, conform in the basic level, we can see it means to comply with the rules, standards, or laws. Comply with, abide by, obey. Ain't that's the first rung of the 12-step ladder? Observe, follow, keep to. You hear our Hebrew family talking about keep the law, statutes, and command. You can't keep what you don't conform to. Hold to, adhere to, satisfy, match up to, meet, fulfill, be in accordance with, stick to, stand by, act in accordance with, uphold, heed, pay attention to, agree with, consent to, accede to, accept, acquiescence in, go along with, fall in with, adapt, accommodate to, adjust to, acknowledge, respect. Come on, man. In other words, follow the way, behave accordingly to it. You got to agree to it, to be similar to it. So we talk about conforming to the will of Allah as opposed to submitting to the will. There's a difference between the two expressions. See, it also means to harmonize with, even here, be consistent with. I'm just jumping over here to show you, agree to. So if you conform to the will of the Most High, then your actions and your deeds and your ways should be basically moving accordingly. If you are not moving according to the law as it has been given to you and it's a part of your nature, then that means you must be outside of your nature. You're not being your natural self. So we can see that the Moorish Holy Quran is speaking of, us being who we are, why we were given, a soul and so forth and so on. We're going to get into that in a minute deeper. Understanding that we were there with the Creator from the beginning. Before we became manifest physically, we were the love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice that will be manifested later in the flesh. This was our nature. We didn't have to try to be it because we were love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. What other thought would the Supreme have and manifest in us than love? Don't nobody sit back and say, especially a divine being, I'm full of hate, so let me just manifest hate. The hatred came by default of the physical form. You see? Pay attention. So, if we existed in long periods of time before we became manifest in spirit form, then that spirit form represents the garb. Spirit clothed with soul, made in the form of Allah. This represents the love, truth, peace, freedom, justice. We can go in every other aspects or attributes that you want to mention. They mention 99 in the Grand Quran, but it's even more than that. I even seen it says 6,000 some attributes in all actuality. You see, but all of these attributes is what we embody. This is what we talk about when we speak of what we call Sebagatala. It means to manifest the code of God. This is our nature. Remember, the Hunafa is the nature in which we were created. Upright. That's what that word means. Hunafa means to be upright. It means a seeker of truth. It means to be the truth. That's why in our 101s, we are told that man himself is the truth. Allah is the truth. So that means you got to be one, as a result of vibration with Creator. If He's the truth and you the truth, He manifested you to be the truth made manifest in order to express His presence. You see? So we can act like all we want to that we have no connection to Creator, but we can't get around it. So let's go back to this period in this state that was mentioned, even when we go into this comedically, because we talk about time never was when man was not. We dealing with the beginning, of everything. This is like a genesis to us. And the same word that's used in the Arabic is used in Hebrew, bara, to create something from nothing. They say barashit is bara in the Arabic. Bara is the same root as barashit. You see? So comedically, what does it state about this? There's a drawing in relation to dealing with the soul of man and man coming into existence. And it speaks of Pharaoh's or the per-Ah's lifetime, and it is eternal repetition. And we know that this is representing different cycles. That's that eternal repetitions until you get it right. His limit is eternal duration. This is the way that we live, family, through various cycles. That's why we say we the return of the ancient ones. We exist from the very beginning all the way into, what we call the end of duration. And then there are more who come through the same cycle that we were born through in a different period. And they express what it is that we were unable to express at a higher rate. So it says the Egyptians had two worlds for the timeless, spiritual, pre-creational mode of time. Jedit, or everlastingness. Eternal duration, nehe, or eternal, which is eternal repetition. These transpose the aspect of time as station, passive, static, versus time as state, active, dynamic. On the spiritual dimensions outside the natural order, this distinction thus incorporates the myths of Nun and Atum, the latter hatching himself out of the primordial egg, hidden within the former. This is where the hidden becomes manifest. You see, Atum becomes the expression or the state of Amin Ra, coming from a state of Amin Renef, as our brother Mustafa Gadali will speak of. Nehe, time, is the sacred timelessness lived by the Ened in eternity. The Ened is also an expression of what we call Neteru, the 9 gods, so to speak, that come forth, and the cycles that come out of it. We know 9 represent re-entry. So we see the cycle of life. You see the cycle of what we call birth, death, and rebirth. Even within the universe itself, we see this cycle with stars that implode, explode, and more life comes out of that. And then they say that this is a sign of how life itself came into being from what they like to call a big bang, but it really wasn't a bang. It was vibration that took place, and there was a silent sound that pervaded the creation to bring life into existence. In the beginning was the word with God, and the word was God, and all of the attributes of life came with that. So Nehe, a time is sacred timelessness, lived by the Ennead, or eternity, the eternal repetition of the divine cycle of Autumn's creation. And this is what a scientist get the concept of atom from Autumn, self-created one. So we took part in our own creation. We tell you this all the time, because it was spirit man amongst the Elohim. You know, a lot of people use terms Anunnaki, Elohim, Neteru. Spirit man was present, you know, in bringing his life on the manifest. That's why we have the ability, while we are here, to govern ourselves accordingly. We just forgot how we were present during the creation, because that's that product, that's a byproduct of coming into this flesh, forgetting everything that is divine. And that's why we now here studying, trying to do the research of knowing the self and get back to that original state of being the God that we represented, one with the creator. So Jajet, a time, it says, is no time of the undifferentiated noon, the primordial homogeneous everlasting chaos in which the Nehe time lay dormant and begin as the first time of the auto-generated Autumn, the Ba, or inner effectiveness of the noon, because that Ba is very important. We heard it's talk about Ba Sharin, the good body, spirit man, or what we call spirit clothed with soul made in the form of Allah, or what we call flesh divine. Remember that, you know. So it says the Ba, or the inner effectiveness of the noon. So before there was a Ka and a Ba within the body of man, Ka and Ba existed as principles outside of the physical body. You see? But it says the time of eternity in Nehe, time, is the most, the first moment of time, not yet time, the first at of the timeline. In the first instance of the first time, Zeptepi. You know, Zeptepi is often referred to, you know, as a bark of many, many years, 100,000, 100, you know, time that's uncalculatable, so to speak. You know, that's Zeptepi in ancient Kemet. Septepi, sometime they call it. Eternity is always in the beginning and is brought into existence by Otumare, who raised the creation out of the dark everlastingness of chaos into the ever brightful eternal repetitions and repetitive movements of Nehe time, which is the beginning of phenomenal time in the first instance of the Pharaoh's time. And this is saying the cycles of time, you know, that we calculate have to do with movement, so to speak. You know, when the first atom began to spin on its own timetable, as our beloved brother Sheikh Elijah Poole Bay would say in the theology of time. You know, all of this stuff is Kemetic science, family. It came from Kemet. This Nehe time. This is eternity in time, right? The great God was ever present. We was ever present with him. That's why we say time never was when man was not. It says on the one hand, the jet time is mythologically a reckoning before Nehe time. For there was a time when Autumn was only potential. See, this is that Amen Renef state, where they call it ground state in science, where the potential of life to come into existence exists, though the movement or the bang had not taken place yet. This goes back to 10 point, I want to say 4 and 3 seconds before what they call the Planck epoch in science. You know, they can't go beyond that, scientists can't, but in the teachings of the ancients, we see them speaking of the state of the Neter, the state of the Elohim, the state of the Anunnaki, prior to everything coming into existence. See, this is where it speaks of the spirit moving upon the face of the waters in the book of Genesis. You see, that's what it's talking about. So it says this aspect refers to Noon. Noon represents the celestial Nile or the cosmology, the universe itself. It says also the night and the judgment of Osiris, which is precisely the answer to the question, does the deceased need to be forsaken? It says to the everlasting oblivion of the jet time. You know, so when we get into a state of dealing with the work upon the plane of soul, we transcend even the need of time, family. That's why we say time never was. So I'm showing you that comedically, they actually taught the same thing. All you got to do is go and research the same thing, these terminologies. It's in video, so you can go see this stuff. So they had symbolic expressions of pictures, as you can see if you're watching live. You know, you see a brother and a sister moving within the boats, and then you see different stars, you know, or the Saptuit or the Seba, as you can see, almost as if they are moving in a cycle throughout the cosmos. You see, and this is that constant state of regeneration, return, as they move on their rounds. Everything in creation deals with cyclic pattern, family. Make no mistake about it. So when you understand the deeper inner meaning, then you can see even in the symbols, like I tell you all the time, of our flag, our scimitar, you know, all of this is representing what's going on in the heavens. We keep telling you about the scimitar as a representation of the Big Dipper going around the Polarises. This is universal science. This is in Kemet. This is in the teachings of our people of the doctrines of Asia. Everybody know about this, but most of our people. You see, and there are many different measures that relate to this same thing, family. You know, as it deals with, you know, change the concept of cherubim, seraphim, angel, and men. And we see a little bit is clipped out in here, but I can blow this portion up and show you. Within the boat, we can see it is shaped like a scimitar. We see 5 deities, you know, in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Within the boat that's shaped like the scimitar. These would represent the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice in action, so to speak. We see it moving throughout the Amduat. The Amduat is another name for the heavens. You see the symbol of the goddess stretching her body all the way over. And this represents the stars and everything in creation. If you ever seen the picture of Nut and Nun, you understand what I'm saying. All of this has to do with cosmic movement, cycles of the creation. But it relates to you. Wait till we go a little further into this. We're going to show you what all this has to do with religion. This is just reiterating the same thing on the summary of time. Ancient Egyptian view of time that has to do with the phenomenal time on earth. And it's basically saying the same thing here, you know, dealing with what they call at. That's an Egyptian word. Moment, instant, a small portion of time, culmination of time, you know, a unit of phenomenal time. Sometimes they call these great cycles, great years. They also have Ahu, which is a period of space-time, a lifetime of man's age, a collection of time units. You know, we have the stages of youth, manhood, and maturity. You know, a sister, youth, womanhood, and maturity. Aha. You know, then we have the eternal time, which is the repetition and duration of the gods. These are the climbs and the times that our Moorish Holy Quran speak of. The cycles through which we return, being the return of the ancient ones, right? Then we have Nehe, timelessness, the first time. So the first concept of time is timeless. That's Nehe. We just spoke on that. Eternity, eternal, unending repetitions. Autumn ray and the deities and the blessed, dynamical, cyclic. You know, so cycles represent never-ending processes. When we stop movement, you know, when we stop time, that's limited time. But a cycle cannot be stopped because a cycle is repetitive. It's unless somebody gonna go and try to break the cycle. And you can't break the cycle of eternity. You got to be able to stop God from thinking. You can't do that. That's why we tell you prophets will always come, you know, as far as dealing with people who need them. Our prophet came to us. Other nations who may have not received the prophet will come to them. We don't need a nothing because Noble Drew Ali came to us. The Arabs don't need a nothing. The Hebrews don't need a nothing because they came to them. They just need to follow what was brought. And those who come through the lineage of the bringers of the teachings that they receive. So the jet also means no time to be permanent, stable, enduring, and everlasting. So this is when you go out of the need of time, the noon, the Ogdoad, which is also the Ennead, you know, and the mysteries of Alsar and the linear. So we see going from a state of what we call the chemistry of mortal life to the ministry of death to the mystery of deific life on different degrees of unfoldment of utilizing time. When you get to a certain level, you don't need time anymore. So it says to see the rays of the sun for only one instant is worth more than to rule in all eternity over the neither world. And this is dealing with one of the statues of the priests of the 22nd dynasty in Karnak. On the other hand, Nehed time is timeless instant born out of eternal repetitions. Recurrence of the same natural cycles coexists with Autumn hatching out of his egg and immediately splitting into Shu and Tefnut in Zeptepi. This is the cosmology of Kemet being recreated over and over again. And this happens within the consciousness of every being that comes into the manifest from the womb of a goddess. They too have to come through that same pathway of hatching through their consciousness out of darkness into the marvelous light of enlightenment. So it says the pantheon of conscious divine spirits come into being as an Ennead in the Akh plane of unmixed and unsullied pure lights emerges out of one God, Nehed time, Autumn Ray. This dynamical mode of eternal time happens in everlastingness for the first time, is not yet creation. You see? And it goes on of dealing with Nehed being often associated with the day of the sun god Ray, correspondingly the jet tends to occur in references at the night to the rule of the death and Alsar, and Nehed is often characterized as dynamic, the jet, or static again, as the etymology of the terms reveal they connote flow, duration of time, respectively. And again, we're dealing with, so Nehe represents or refers to the eternal repetition of the path of Autumn Ray in the pantheon. This will always come back through us. It is through our body that the netter expresses itself, through netters or netteru. This is all a part of us. We are part of that great plan. So we see also before us, we have a measure here that talks about the dome in relation to dealing with cycles. We're talking about the imperishables of the way of what we call the Ak, Ka, and Ba. We say Allahu Akbar. Akbar. Kemetically, Ak is a word, Ka is a word, and Ba is a word. Ak represents the imperishable or the spiritual expression again of man. Ka represents what we call the double, the spirit double. And Ba represents the manifestation again of spiritual soul. And all of these move through the cycle of what we call the Duat or the Amduat, creation itself. These are the cycles through which we return. If you're looking at this particular chart that I have, you can easily see the 7 being put in here in the midst of 4 quadrants as our circle 7. You see? We even deal with the inundation as it relates to Orion or Sirius. All of this stuff is there, family. It talks about the rise of the concept of rebirth at dawn and the place of light at rebirth. The false door. We already know there's a false door through which we are born when it comes to dealing with the manifest. But the true door has to deal with our spirit. That's why we say, man, is truth and falsehood strangely mixed. We got to deal with all of this when it comes to the cycle. So there's a breakdown dealing with the culmination of Ray, at what they call high noon, also the heat of Set, that deal with the concept of the slaying of the Alsar, lower self going to war against the higher self. From the time we come into the manifest, the lower self is waging war against the higher self. That's why Shaitan in the Quran say he's going to attack you from the front, from the back, the left, and the right, at each gate. You see? So, we can go all the way into this expression. Now, there's a drawing, and we've seen the prophet demonstrating this as we open up. We talked about the adept prayer stance because we're able to ward off the adversary entities that would try to impede our process of being the higher self, and we able to calm the ethers. This is a symbol of Ka and Shu of ancient Kemet. There's two hands being raised up, just like you see our chairman demonstrating when he got the prophet's garb on her, just like I just showed you our prophet was demonstrating when he had the Moors, there. This symbol represents our ability to ward off all conflict and evil. We're going to show you how it has taken on many different forms. If we looked at this symbol from the Islamic standpoint, when you see them in there making their salat, that's the first mode they go through before they prostrate. They raise their hand up and they call that the takbir tarima. You say God is the greatest, but many have taken this and it started in Kemet. You see? So right here on the picture, you can see the God men, demonstrating this posture with their hands up. We even see the little God seed, right here in the midst, and they are standing upon the scimitar. All of this is symbolic. Kefesh is what we call it. So this was a constant way. We see one here demonstrating a priest in the midst of a bunch of the symbols, which represents, again, having power, dominion, control, over these things. So you can see that these different formulas represent the ability of the priest being able to wield power and authority over these different formulas that a lot of people like to call medu netta, the language of God. This is one directing, that divinity, so to speak. This is the real adept meaning behind exalting the hand, standing on the 45. You see? Or some say the 90, but we can see one approaching Heru as Heru sits on the throne in Kemet as well, having their hands exalted. So this represents a form of adoration as well. And we see it all over the place. Then you had the European come and try to steal it, and they call it a grand Helen sign of distress in masonry. I heard people when I was young, and I didn't know that's what they called it, but they was like, man, you do this right here, you can stop a train. I remember hearing that, but at that time I was a young seer. I was probably 7, 8 years old seeing these people talk like that around me, but they stole that concept from the people. In other words, it's trying to say that one has a power over controlling the ethers, even though the European try to use these symbols, to deal with their expression of trying to exercise God power through their little secret societies. You see? And so, for example, in this thing that I'm showing here, it says, after receiving instruction with the proper communication of the substitute for a master's word, the candidate is instructed in regards to the grand Helen sign of distress, is given by raising both hands toward the heaven with the arm forming an angle or a square of 90-degree angle, and the arms are lowered in 3 distinct motions to the sides. In other words, ending with both arms in the natural downward position such one is standing at. Furthermore, I do promise and swear that I will not give the grand Helen sign of distress of a master mason except for the benefit of the craft while at work and instruction of a brother. See, they took our science and tried to take this and remix it, and this is what they get. So they demonstrate this when they in real distress and they supposed to immediately stop and one hasten to their relief, basically. You see? And then it said also, they say, oh my Lord, my God, there's no help for the widow's son. You see? And they said that basically this is what they do. No matter where they at, they supposed to help each other or whatever, right? This is what they do in these different secret societies. But they got this concept, from the real hidden teachings of dealing with the holy breath. And that's why ones get it confused. Say, Prophet Noble Drew Ali was demonstrating. No, he wasn't demonstrating no grand hell. He was demonstrating the Kemetic adept expression of Shu. He came to take the cover off all secrets. That's what I'm doing right now, if you really picked up on what I just showed you. But anyway, it goes on. There's another measure at the juncture of our lesson. But man himself is not the body nor the soul. He is a spirit and a part of Allah. Creative fate gave the spirit man a soul that he might function on the plane of soul, and gave him a body of flesh that he might function on the plane of things made manifest. Why did creative fate give the spirit man a soul that he might function on the plane of soul? Why did creative fate give the soul a body of flesh that he might function on the plane of things made manifest? Now go to Genesis chapter 2. Now we know man is a spirit and a part of Allah according to what we say on chapter 1 of Moorish Holy Quran. Well, Genesis chapter 2, verses 7, verse 7, King James Version, and the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. A lot of people don't know the meaning behind that, and they use the word nefesh a lot of times in ruach as it relates to soul and spirit, in the Hebrew language. But guess what? The word ruach in Hebrew corresponds with the word ruh in Arabic. The word nefesh in Hebrew corresponds with the word nafas or nafusihum in the Arabic. So it ain't strange. Same thing with shalom and salam. There are a lot of words that are similar and the same, basically. It's just a different expression and pronunciation of these words. So what does the Quran then say? Since we talking about a spirit and a part of Allah, creative fate giving spirit man a soul that he might function upon the plane of soul, and a body of flesh to function upon the plane of things made manifest. When the Grand Quran, Surah 91, ayat 7 through 10, it speaks of by the soul and the proportion and the order given to it. Remember, I was talking about the nature in which one was created, and it's our nature to conform to the will, because the attributes in us, it say it's enlightenment. See, by the soul and the proportion and the order given to it, and its enlightenment as to its wrong and its right. Truth and falsehood strangely mixed. You come with the nature knowing what that truth and falsehood is by the time you mature in your growth. Truly, he succeeds that purifies it, and he fails that corrupts it. So there's a purification process that has to go on as we grow, from children into full-grown adults. We got to mend the broken wives. The prophet already did it for us. All we got to do is get in line. So we can see as it relates to both the Piscean records, and the Grand Quran, along with our Moorish Holy Quran, we understand that the soul has certain functions. And we have this being depicted here as well. You see also the netter represent the meeting of those coming on the boat or journey, and this hand still being raised up in adoration. We can see a little demotic being depicted down here. It's actually coming from a papyrus. And so the question is, now that we have moved out, because we know the soul has 3 different degrees, Amara, Lawama, Mutmaina in the Grand Quran, bestiality, consciousness, and felicity. You see, and moving from the third function out of the oneness, because the oneness that when we spoke of being at one with the Creator in time, now we come into the 5, 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. What are the 5 Egyptian bodies? What we showing you is comparative doctrine of what demonstrated in Kemet, what was demonstrated in the Piscean records, that correspond with that of the Quran, Grand Quran, and what corresponds to our Moorish Holy Quran. We're showing it to you right here. The only difference is that the methodology of the teaching, but all of them pretty much allude to the same thing. So the 5 Egyptian bodies that are mentioned are the ancient Egyptian conception of the soul deal, what it's called, and it's not limited to 5. This is just another portion of the teaching. Ket, or the physical body, also referred to as K-H-A-T, Kat. If you take that T and interchange it with D, it becomes Kat, as in Kadman, Kataman. Representation of the body. Kemetic word corresponding with the Hebrew and the Arabic word. K is interchangeable with the letter Q. But anyway, we have Sa, or the spiritual body. So Ket, the physical body. Sa, the spiritual body. Rin, or the name, identity. Ba, the personality. Ka, the double or vital essence. Ib, or the heart. Shoot, or the shadow. And then we have second, power and form. We hear about all 5 of these in chapter 1. We hear about all of these spoken of in the Holy Quran. Don't we get the knowledge when we are told about the carnal man or the physical body? Man himself being truth and falsehood strangely mixed. Then we just get the lesson on chapter 1 on why, we was given a body of flesh to function upon the plane of things made manifest. That's the cat. The spiritual body, that's spirit man, that's Sahu. The Ren, the name or identity. You see, this is the attribute and the character. That's what Ren really represent. These are the attributes that are mentioned in chapter 1. Often the attributes of God. Then we have the Ba, personality. Remember, that's the spiritual aspects of the soul. Then we have the double, the vital essence. Then we have heart. Where's the nearest place we can meet him? Ab, Ip. We speak of the heart of man. That heart of Allah reaching up on a ladder to the heart, the man reaching up from his heart to the heart of Allah, so to speak, climbing that ladder. Then we have the shut, or the shadow. What is the lower self but a shadow of the manifest? And then we have power and form. What is power to us? Second, it exerts itself for the individual at the will of the use. That connects to the science, don't it? So we can see all of that right there in our Moorish Holy Quran as well. Same thing being spoken of in Kemet, being mentioned here by degrees. So they have what we call the bet, the cat, and the act. This goes into the 3 that we was mentioning earlier as well. You see? It says the ancient Egyptians introduced 3 ontic levels overarched by the person's name. The Ak level, the spiritual, Re, and the station of the spirit. The Ba level, transitional, Osar or Osiris, the station of the soul. And then Ab level, incarnational, the station of the body. This is what religion or the old time religion is concerned with, family. Getting this in order. You see, and we can go further into it, dealing with the station of the body. The cat is represented by the heart or the ab or the lunar ego. I have consciousness. We can go down to the next one dealing with Ba as it represents the solar self. I am of consciousness. See, I have of consciousness, and then I am of consciousness. This is the effective creative focus of consciousness and proximity to the spiritual. Right? Then we have also at the next level, the station of Ak. Remember, we talked about that. That's Sahu. Spirit clothed with soul made in the form of Allah. This represents stellar. Stellar is often star, transcending the super consciousness of the one Autumn and Eniyat. See, its body was the light of the stars, or cabs. This is powerful. It says this onic level of the ultimate cause, the soul transfigurates into Ak, and Ak, or spirit, incarnate. Nobody could attain this spiritual level of existence consciously. Pharaoh was the only embodied divine Ak. All ordinary deceased could hope to be justified by Osar, Osiris, and become the spirit of Osar and Osiris in the field of Re, Sekhet Aru, Sekhet Allah. That's the 3rd heaven, family. Only Pharaoh and his royals flew to the sky in the field of offering. The spirit and its star body are the 3rd ontic level. You see? Only when the physical vehicle dies do the double heart, shadow, and soul during earthly life bound together by the name escape temporarily entertain independent status. And this goes all the way into the aspects of showing you how to become Osar, how to become Ra, and so forth and so on. This is the same thing that was being taught in chapter 1. We just don't see it because it's veiled to us if we haven't studied at this level. This is the uniting of the teachings of ancient Kemet. So there's much breakdown on the concept, of the Ka, the Ba, the Ak, and so forth and so on. All this leads to our ability to demonstrate what we call ma'at, that which is of the truth and rightness and justice and balance. And that's where even the expression of the ostrich feather that the prophet wore on his headdress, he was showing that he was about truth and right. He was just as on the manifest, ma'at keru. He was speaking of true voice. That's why he said, even word that I speak is spirit, and you Moors had better take heed. So to find a trial of one who dies to the physical, so to speak, not physically getting killed, but they go beyond, they transcend the physical, the old them past form. It would be to have one's heart weighed against ma'at. If the person has led a good heart, a good life, right, and decent life, then his heart would be in a balance and would pass into the afterlife. And all this has to do with spirit clothed with soul made in the form of Allah, and also going up above the sun, moon, and stars around the almighty throne of Allah in your consciousness, being fixated there. But if not, it says, if the weight of his heart did not balance with ma'at, a monster named the devourer consumed his heart, and his heart is identified with the seat of intelligence. So what happened? You go into that state of bestiality, don't you? The devourer consuming your heart or your consciousness has a representation of one that falls by climbing into the pits of hell, i.e. the lower self. And they lose all sight of judgment and divinity. See? It says they fall into the emotions. You become emotional. So the term ma'at keru is identified with the party at the end of a civil trial that will be declared innocent and true, or truer voice and justified. And you can only ascend to those heights when you purify your heart and mind with love. See, this is the natural way. I'm just showing you the comedic parallel to the stuff that we teach right there in just chapter 1 alone. All of these teachings are veiled there, but we lifting the veil to show them to you. Right here, we have an expression here, and we went over this in the past, many moons ago about Merkaba. Merkaba, comedically, and also going into Arabic and Hebrew, represents a chariot or a vehicle, of travel. This represents consciousness. And you can see the God-man here with light coming forth in the disk of a sun from one's frontal lobe, or what we call the third eye. This is intelligence. This is powerful. Merkaba. Understand that the true Kaaba and the journey of the Kaaba has to do with what is within you. So once you understand that, and you understand the 5 parts of the Egyptian soul, as we spoke of Ba, Ren, Ka, Ab, and Shut, then you understand why we say the nearest place you can meet Allah is in the heart. Now you understand what spirit clothed with soul made in the form of Allah means. That's our nature. That's Sebugatala. And if that's what we supposed to be, then why we ain't being that? Why are we constantly being taken off the manifest by the shadow of our lower self? That's a part of you, but it ain't you when it comes into the manifest. So we see the expression of the star as it relates to man. Or it relates to the human being. So the psychology and the personality of one, we talk about also all the time, that I of Heru, which is known as Waja, Wajet. Well, people don't know this I actually consists of different functions of the personality, the spirit twin, the Kat, which we just mentioned, the Ren, the Shoot, the Shadow, the Ak, the Force. All of these represent different portions, mathematically, of what's represented within one's consciousness. All of this pervades within universe or creation. So it's in our nature to be all of this, but become masters of our own destiny. So we have a picture of what we call the Seba, or the 5-pointed star, as it is in Kemet. And at the top point, it has throne, Nomen, what we call also Horus, Nepti, Golden, and so forth and so on. So the throne is the grand expression of this measure. That's the highest peak. The throne represents love. See, it says this is how executive rulers are made comedically. The royal titulary arranged around N14. That's the actual what you call it. That's the code that they use for this symbol. Seba, or star, a pentagram. The royal titulary reflects the unity of the spiritual, eternal, and political temporal rule of the pharaoh, executive ruler of Kemet, right? It identifies the 5 parts of his name. Ren, together, a good name is better than gold, right? A good attribute. Together, they constitute the fundamental formula of his rule, both religiously, magically, as politically, his program for Egypt. To know this name confers the nature and the goal of the great house. That's what Per-Ah means. What they say, Pharaoh, Per-Ah, the great house. In my father's house are many mansions. So it says, of the living Egypt, a dual king, human by birth and divine by nature. Human by birth, divine by nature. The first 2 parts of the titulary, the Horus name and the Nepti name, refer to the early dynastic period when the rule of the followers of Horus or Heru united the 2 lands of Lower and Upper Egypt. That means you being able to unite your being, your higher self ruling over your lower self. The higher self represent our upper kingdom of Kemet, and the lower self represent the lower kingdom. Get them Hyksos thought patterns in check. Duality has been transcended in the rule of harmony and truth and justice of Ma'at. The last 2 names reflect the theology of Re, in particular, the fact Pharaoh is the son of the creator God. Golden Horus name standing in between as a Penake, like the flamboyant monumentality of the Great Pyramid dazzling in the sunlight. It affirms the king was headed to paradise, a state associated with nourishment and peace. Like gold, Pharaoh's ring endures, and like the flesh of the deities, he lives forever. So this is what we talk about when we speak of divine alchemy, being able to transmute from a base nature into a nature of the golden in spirituality. That's divine alchemy as it relates to the self. This is what the old time religion, when we talk about conforming to the nature, this is divine alchemy, family, coming out of that base nature of being a mere human being, being merely a ball of flesh, into being one with the creator, one through the divinity and deific will, the Neteru. All of this right there in chapter 1, veiled to the eyes of those who don't want to see. So it goes on. I got a drawing here, and we getting ready to open up the floor, family. Further on, the lecture formulate these 7 Egyptian souls, because now we're dealing with the 7. We dealt with the 5, and the different expressions and parts that they mentioned, but it goes deeper. It says, here actually it talks about the esoteric Indian tradition of the Rupa, body of the element form. In the Egyptian, that's the Ka body. Esoteric Indian teaching, prana, the breath of life. In Egyptian, that's the Ba, the soul of breath. Ba Sharim. Remember I was talking about that in the Arabic? The good body. This is what the great God Allah was telling, the angel, when I get through creating this one, we want you to bow down and prostrate. He wasn't talking about to the flesh. The attributes. Astral body. Esoteric in the teachings of India, the Hinduist Kushite. Then you have the Kaaba, the shade. Then you have manas in the Indian teaching, and aku, intelligence or perception. Then you have rupa, animal soul. Then you have ancestral soul corresponding with this, which is called kama or rupta. It's called seba, ancestral soul. Then we have buddhi, a spiritual soul in India, putta, which is the first intellectual father, or ta. Then you have Atma, the pure spirit, and you have Atmu, the divine eternal soul. So we can see the crossover between the teachings of India and the Egyptian, because they both come up out of the Cushitic nations. Further on, the lecture formulates, it say these 7 Egyptian souls as the soul of blood, the formative, the soul of breath that breathes, the shade or covering soul that envelops, and the soul of perception that perceives, and the soul of pubescence that procreates. And then 6, which is the intellectual soul that reproduces intellectually, and then the 7, which is the spiritual soul that is perpetuated permanently. You know what I mean? So all of this is just showing us the different stages. And I got some a chart here showing you the upper circle, you know, in the Hebrew language with Kabbalah, and they talk about Yeshida, Kaya, Neshama. Then they talk about, and that's the upper portion. Then you got the middle circle, Ruach, and that first portion represent third heaven. You know, then you have Nefesh, again, see, dealing with the soul again, lower circle, Tazilim or Nefesh, which is the coach, I meant to say, and they call it the Guf. You know, and then on the other side in hieroglyphics, you know, this is Chu, divine spirit, Kebi, spiritual soul, Ba, Abba, intellectual soul, intelligence, Ab, Hati, which is the heart, feeling animal soul. And then we had Ka, which represents again the astral body, the Evestrum, a sidereal man. Then we have Ankh, the vital force, Archaeus, Mumia, and then Kat, the elementary body. So it would start from the lower and go up into the higher. Same teaching, different teachings as far as dealing with the doctrine, but same teaching in essence. That's that one moving all the way through the 7 heavens of the self. We're getting ready to open this up in a second. So we see that we move from a state of what we call, at the first plane, self-awareness, second plane, self-exploration, third plane, self-discovery, fourth plane, self-understanding. This is a pyramid. And then self-love, which is the 5th, self-transformation, which is the 6th, and self-mastery, which is the 7th. Knowledge of the self is having the power of self and all your elements within you, God-like. You know, so we can see what we call a pattern of eccentric circles that says Ra-like. And it looks just like our circle 7. You know, our sun emitting vibrations, so to speak, through the same pattern of the 4 gateways. All right knowledge points upward. All right knowledge points upward. And not last but not least, going through these same degrees of unfoldment, family. And we'll spend just a few minutes of time in relation if we just want to complete this. But the highest subtle eternal has to do with becoming like Re and Osiris, you know, dealing with the same components, you know, Ox, spirit, Cob, spirit, body, you know, the essence of everything, divine, luminous, you know, and radius, cosmic consciousness. This is achieved through ritual transformation, the Ox sphere of Re in the sky, your consciousness. That's what the sky is, family. Not that you looking up in your consciousness, the Ox sphere. This is third heaven, family. You know, as we go here, it has also the Ba, the soul, the body, Sa. We have Ab, Ka. We also have Kabibit, which is shadow, and Kat again. So when we go through all of these measures, we have the points of what we call 1, Ak, Kab, which is 2, Ba, 3, Sa, 4, Ab, 5, Ka, 6. Then we have Kaabit, shadow, and Kat, which is corpse. You know, 7 and 8. And the 9 represents a completion in what we call return or re-entry. All of this is dealing with how we are made. And I had reached one website that say that these are the tools. Family, these are the tools of being able to work upon the plane of soul. This is what we taught in our Moorish Holy Quran. We use these tools in the workshop of the mind where thought is used to build character. So all these stations that we mentioned are personified as tools in what we teach. The hammer repetition, you know, the square, the compass, and so forth and so on. You see, and so in all actuality, there are 9 parts that are mentioned in the human soul. And again, it goes into Ren, Ba, Ka, Shuhet, Ib, Ak, Sahu, Kat, and Shechem. You see, when you put them all together, they are mentioned in that aspect. And there's a breakdown on each and every one of these things, family, that deal with what the soul is composed of, dealing with the 9 parts of the soul comedically. And all of these have to do with the soul of a person being composed of very distinct aspects. And firmly, our ancestors believe that the human soul consisted of 9 main parts that we mentioned earlier. And it tells you each and every one of them that they represent. About the heart, for example, it was important to our ancestors that they believed that it was formed by the blood of the child's mother. It was the key to paradise. The shadow, it was believed by our ancestors that it has to do with behavior and characteristics. It was present as an important part of the soul. The Ren, this is what, when we talk about old time religion, it is to get all of this into meiotic order. See, this is central, the vital part, and it deals with that which came with us at the time of birth, the Ren, the name, personality, that which makes us unique. That's the Ba. The Ka, again, that's what deal with essential concepts. It allowed the dead, allowed us to distinguish a dead person from a living person. Kat, which is, another important aspect, the link between the soul and the existing part of the person on earth. This is the body. The immortal self, then, the Ak. Again, this is, where one is dealing with a union between the Ka and the Ba. Sahu. That's the judge. This is your ability to distinguish. The hall of judgment. And last but not least, second is the aspect, another of the Ak. And this deals with the power to control the environment and most likely outcome. So you don't submit to the outcome. You have the ability, the power to exert at the will of your use. Islam. And so we can see all this being even brought forth in the concept of an upright pentagram as opposed to an inverted pentagram. Because inverted pentagram represent inverted thought pattern. Either you rising into the higher self or you going into the lower self. So those 9 different stages that we mentioned can be found within the tree of what we call life. Until we come into the manifest. All these 9 manifest, and then you come into the 10th Malkut, the kingdom. Truth and falsehood strangely mixed. You have the potential to go into the heights of divinity or into your lower self. Which one you gonna do? Are your higher self gonna conform with the divinity of you being spirit man, one with the great God, or are you gonna fall into the lowest of the low? And last but not least, on this point here, we just have everything that we demonstrated on these pictures, family, and it's showing you, as you can see, the silhouette of man here, and all of these represent the different stages, and you see all the Netaru right here. Celestial government, celestial workers. This is all a part of your body, family. Second, Ku, Heterkuti, Ma'at, Sebek, Het Heru, all set Heru. This is right here. This is all a part of you. And all of this is right there in our Moorish Holy Quran, chapter 1. So if anybody want to know what it is we demonstrating, if it's comedic, you go right there to chapter 1. It's right there. Prophet Noble Drew Ali was an Egyptian adept, family. He knew the power of exercising the holy breath. And that's what we showing you. Being able to have command and control over the self. That's what we talking about. So in opening this measure up, we want to keep that in mind. Let me go back here to our family, and we're going to open up the floor right now so that we can hear from our Moorish kin. And so when we go into this special drawing, family, make no mistake about it. We taking you out of the realms of spookism into the reality of what it means to demonstrate this thing. So he hath instituted laws for who? The government of the world. He hath wonderfully varied them in all beings, and each by his nature conforming to his will. Islam, Moorish kin. You can star 6 your phone and give your measure.
Islam.
Islam, Sister Curtis Bay.
Islam.
Islam.
We'll get you in a minute, brother. In a second. We got you in queue. Go ahead, Sister Curtis Bay.
Islam. I'm gonna jump right on in there. Honors has already been given. I tell you, National Sister Green Sheep, this is a powerful class tonight. I tell you, you covered so much. This is one that we definitely. I know for myself, I definitely got to go back and listen to the playback. And you talk about adapt teachings. This was the adapt teachings, but your subject, which is a powerful subject too, ayat 10, it said, he have instituted laws for the government of the world. He have wonderfully vetted them in all beings, and each by his nature conformeth to his will. And I tell you, the way you broke this whole thing down, you outlined how how we was spirit, and how we basically how we fail. I mean, you just I don't have words to explain how powerful this message is, and I'm sharing it. I'm trying to share it with our Moorish kin on Facebook and stuff, because our people need to know this. And I never really before I come into this government, I didn't understand all of that, and being created, in Genesis 1, and talking about God took a rib from the man and all that stuff. I didn't understand none of this what you have broken down, but I tell you, this is so powerful. And the main thing that I got out of it, when you was talking about how when we was born into this flesh, how we forgot who we were. And that reminded me of that little cartoon like thing, the Lion King, that little animation story, how Simba, he was a king too, but he forgot who he was. And seeing that's what, like you saying, we got to unfold into who we were, and how you just showed all the seven levels that we have to go through, and then you showed the nine. I tell you, this is so much. But the main thing is you showing us how it ain't nothing outside of ourselves. All of this is within us. And I can remember when I used to learn about a moon, and all the different Set and Asar and all those different deities, but nobody really told me that all of that was dealing with on the inside of me. Because I always used to ask the question, I said, was they real? Was they like me? Did they have flesh and bone? Like I did. I just had so many questions, but I tell you, so many answers are coming forth, being in this Moorish American government. It's just an honor for me to be here, honor for to be in this class. I tell you, this is just wonderful. Gratitude, God, man, for letting me share, because I know our most kin is biting at the bit on this one. Islam.
And Islamism, yeah, very powerful. Because when we look at it, we move through the degrees of 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. And that was pretty much ingrained in the teachings of ancient Kemet, being one with the Neteru, coming through the three different degrees of unfoldment as they deal with the Ak, the Ba, and the Ka, and then getting into the aspects as it relate to the Ren, the name, the attributes, the Ak, Ba, Ka, and everything that's added to that, the shoot and the shadow. And then we come into, the 7, as it relates to it. And then we come into the 9. All of these teachings are the core doctrine of ancient Kemet that are adept, that were brought back in the Book of Fire. And our chairman brought it to us. It's called the adept deification of man, the Moorish American National, not a masculine entity. Moorish American National, MAN. That means sisters too. You see, and 9 simply represents our ability to come through re-entry. So yeah, we give honors to you, goddess. That's why we showed the tree of life. Re-entry represents the fruit that falls from the tree of life in order to drop the seed into the soil and manifest itself again. Islam. Well, all right. All right, there you go, Assistant Chairman. You ready? Dr. Torre Anu Rasul Simpson Bay.
Islam. Islam family. I was trying to get a quick measure in. I understand now. Islam.
Okay, Islam. Gratitude, brother.
Islam.
Praise be to Allah. Well, all right. Islam, is there any other more that would like to come forth and exercise their fire? Time never was.
Islam.
Islam, brother Muhammad Bey.
Gratitude, grand man. Wow. Magnanimous class. Islam family, I'm Dr. Joe Hamid Muhammad Bey, Consul General of the South Carolina Consular Post Consulate. First, let me rise in praise of our Father God Allah, who is the best knowing, the best arranger of all things, and give the highest honors to his holy prophet, our holy prophet, Noble Jew Ali. He is the last prophet of this new era of time now, the seventh manifestation in divine flesh, the seventh angel, El-Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali. Giving much love, honor, and respect to you, National Assistant Grand Sheikh, for this grand magnanimous demonstration, always on time, just like the Prophet, always on time. Gratitude for being the truth that the Prophet brought, a living manifestation of what a true Moorish American is supposed to be. Gratitude. We love you, grand man, beyond words. I give honors to Act 1 of our divine constitution and bylaws. I give honors to our grand national seal, our grand national emblem, and our grand national flag. I give honors to this theocratic government in which we all live and can live. I give honors to Marcus Mosiah Garvey L., the forerunner who opened up the way for our beloved prophet, Noble Jew Ali. And I give honors to all of our Moorish kin, those that are listening in the public, student ministers, angels, executive rulers, to everyone on this Moorish Perspective StreamYard Live national conference call this evening. I give honors to those that spoke before me and those that will speak after me. And I give honors to absolutely everything Moorish. Islam, Islam, Islam. Oh, as the Moorish can say, it is in your nature, God, man. You're gonna let it out. You cover a lot of ground. And definitely you are being yourself in doing so. So he have instituted laws for the government of the world. He hath wonderfully varied them in all beings, and each by his nature conformeth to his will. In reference to this time never was. This is a grand demonstration because prior to coming into the teachings of Prophet Noble Jew Ali, in this particular society, this Eurocentric culture and mindset that most of us have been not living under, but been under. Time is a thing that is put forth as the utmost importance, and that there's nothing more important than time. Everything that they do in this society is based upon time. Well, the prophet come to let us know that time is a manifestation on the plane of matter. This is very, very key because the first question in our question is, who made me? Who made you? Who made us? Who made the melanated sun-kissed man and woman of the world? That's that spirit that you talked about. You understand that timeless has no beginning, nor does it have any end. And I don't want to be too long. I just want to hit a few things. When you talked about that inner effectiveness, this is key also, because notice that it talks about being within, where the true effect comes from. In this society, we are taught just the opposite. We are taught to see and understand things first and foremost from the outside in. And this is why we never are able to unfold to our natural nature as divine beings, or as, one of the illustrations, that star child, that star man, that star woman, that superman, superwoman, in the European concept. But for us as a people, that is our natural state. And it is these teachings. I love the illustration when you show the prophet, holding his hands in distress, which is not a Masonic symbol, but a Cometian means of communication. And that's so very, very important, because we know that what the prophet brought us was nothing other than the ancient Cometian mystery school system, in which he termed as Moorish science, Islamism. But our people didn't. That's why he's a Cometian adept master. So the last thing I want to deal with the effectiveness. See, it starts from the inside. So this is why the prophet said, and what you taught about. See, this is understanding. You just gave it, man. This whole class is about understanding. And the prophet taught us that understanding is the rock upon which we build ourselves. But we can't have understanding if we don't have knowledge. Not just knowledge. We have to have knowledge of the truth. And that's what you gave this evening. You gave, right, the actual, factual, historical knowledge of the truth, whereby all of the other philosophies, all of the other theologies, all of the religions and the different doctrines, we can trace each and every one of them back to the teachings of our ancient Cometian ancestors. First existence. That's why, in ending, time never was when we were not. They cannot put a timeline on the beginning of the sun-kissed melanated people of the planet, because we come with the great God and Father of the universe. This is a grand, grand class. And in ending, for me, everything that you brought tonight, grand man, when I think about what is called the 7 universal principles in the Kabbalion of Tahuti. And it starts off with, okay, the first principle is mentalism. All is mind. The law of correspondence, as above, so below, as below, so above, as within, so without. The law of vibration, everything vibrates. Polarities, everything has the equal point or equal what seemingly to be opposites. Everything. The law of rhythm. See, the polarity creates the rhythm. And the rhythm brings about the cause that brings about the effect. And you end up with the gender, not the male and the female, but the feminine and the masculine, that which is given and that which receives. Islam and gratitude, grand man. This is my understanding of what you brought tonight. And that's dealing with Act 2. That's the forming of the first man in flesh, and also the departing of man. Because just as man fell in our thinking, we have to rise in our thinking, because the prophet said everything begins with a thought. When we purify our thinking, then we begin to rise out of the carnality of the lower self of the 5 senses unto our Father God Allah. Islam and gratitude, grand man. This is a grand class. Thanks for letting me share. Peace and love.
Islam and gratitude for the measure, brother. We give honors to you for the droid. And we got a little time still extended for the Moors, because want to make sure that our family get this droid and what it is that we bringing.
Islam.
So, Islam, Sister Anna Jean.
Islam
This is Divine Minister Annie Jean Swenson Bay of the North Carolina Territory of Moorish America Government. I rise and give all praises to our Father God, Allah, and honor to his Prophet, our Prophet, Noble Drew Ali, El Sharif Abdul Ali, and honor to our Moorish America Government, all officials, citizens, and kin. And honor to you, Grandman, for a beautiful, beautiful lesson that you always bring on the manifest. Praise Allah for you. And you know, as you was talking about time and the soul and the laws, and you know, quite naturally, our prophet left us the laws. And those laws is for the universe of the world. And if a person doesn't obey the prophet laws, how can they obey the laws of the land? And so the prophet said, if you break the laws of the land, you broke all my laws. So quite naturally, he set up these laws because Allah led him to do so. And so quite naturally, as we, Moorish America, he also talked to us about love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And that only that we keep it in our soul, but also in our heart. And we have to, what? Spread the love. Be the truth. Be the message that we bring. Our Grand National Secretary already told us. And then again, while I'm on here, I just want to give all gratitude to our Grand Chairman for all he has taught me and others. Because I have never, ever been taught as the truth as Grand Chairman have taught it and teaching it and what you are teaching. And so if I don't be on the call all the time, I'll be studying. I'm going back to school. But I'm still a Moorish American government and always will be. Because when Grand Chairman talked to me and told me, you are home. You don't have to go anywhere there, sister. Welcome home. And he meant that. Because Grand Chairman taught us all well and still teaching us well. And it's been years. And I want to let everyone know, I just not come on the board of Moorish American government. I've been here for a long time. And I ain't got tired yet. Well, praise be unto Allah for the great teaching that our prophet have taught us and left on this earth for us to obey and for us to do. Because Allah, God himself, divided and prepared him. The seventh angel, in Revelation chapter 10, read about him in the Bible. And so here I am as a Moorish American student, a Moorish American government divine minister, and I am the message that I bring. And for the soul of man, we have to do what our prophet said do, and what our grand chairman, our grand chief tell us to do, to purify your heart and mind, and then receive he the holy bread, because he will teach you at all times. I'm not trying to get off the point, but I have a point to make. Praise be unto Allah. And that's what he's leading me. And so quite naturally, we have to obey. We have to do what our prophet said do. Because Allah is in the prophet. And he's leading on. Victory is here. Praise be unto Allah. And I give all honor to all our march officials, all our governments, and our holy day. Praise be unto Allah. And I am so grateful and so thankful to Allah to be in a holy movement that is leading on to victory, and that we are headed for paradise with Allah. Praise be unto his holy name. And Allah is still in the miracle working business. And I give all honor to our prophet. And all praises to our Father God Allah for what he's doing in our life, all our life, sending us a great prophet to follow and to bring us back with him. Not with the world, but with him. Because he has established the government of the world for the world to obey. For the world. only our Martian America government, but for the world. And what Allah said, he mean it. And what the prophet said, he mean it. Praise be unto his holy name. And I give honor to you, grandman, for allowing me to bring my message on tonight. Because we have fallen. And so we have to get back right with our Father God, Allah, through our prophet Noble Drew Ali. By being obedient. And Grand Chairman, I love you. I love all of them, Martial American government, and those that are not. And I'm doing my work. Praise be unto Allah. Because Allah knows what's in your heart, in your mind. He knows everything. There's nothing that man can hide from him. His eyes pierces everywhere. He sees the depths of the earth and everything. And everybody's soul and mind, he knows it. And he talked to man and to woman. And through man. To keep up the good work. Peace and love and gratitude.
In Islam, peace and love and gratitude, Sister Annie Jean Swenson Bay. We give honors to you for that drawing. Praise be to Allah. Islamism without the schism. And what we want to do real quick, because there was some flashes of this drawing we didn't get to give to our family briefly. Like we say, we're giving you extension on time based upon these little different technical difficulties we had over here with the apparatus. But there are certain measures I want to point out in chapter 1. I really want to emphasize, this measure as it relates to chapter 1. And let me see, I'm trying to pull this open. Okay, here we go, right here. This was actually a part of this, where it says, and this is dealing with creation, called to bear witness to the great God. It says, "Hear now, ye cherubim, ye seraphim, ye angels, and ye men. Hear now, O protoplasm and earth and plant and beasts. Hear now, ye creeping things of the earth. Ye fish that swim, ye birds that fly. Hear now, ye winds that blow, and ye thunders, and ye lightnings of the sky. Hear now, ye spirits of fire, water, earth, air. And hear now, O everything that is, or was, and evermore will be. For wisdom speaks from out of the highest plane of spirit life." And we can see that this wasn't just a basis. Star 6 your phone, Morris. We can see that this wasn't just a basis that deals with our Moorish Holy Quran, but it was present even in the Piscean records in Deuteronomy, where it's stated. Star 6 your phone, family. Hold up, I got you. I'll help you out because I think that might be coming from. There we go, Islam. So anyway, when we go into this special measure, family, what we are pointing out, is that in Deuteronomy, there was a measure where it was mentioned, "I call the heaven and the earth to witness against you today. And I place before you life and death, blessing and curse, and choose life so that you and your children will live and love God." And it says, "Your God, listening obedient to him and firmly embracing him," right? So even in Deuteronomy, the heavens and the earth were called to witness. Just as in our Moorish Holy Quran, they were called to witness. And everything therein. And then we go into the Grand Quran of Muhammad is followed up in Surah 33, Ayat 72. So you can't hide from this. Yusuf Ali, "We did indeed offer the trust to the heavens and the earth and the mountains, but they refused to undertake it, being afraid thereof. But man undertook it. He was indeed unjust and foolish." And this go right back to what I was showing y'all and saying that before we came into the manifest, we knew what our obligation was. We took the imanna as the Arabic word. Imanna means trust. Imanna is often used to end statements, and they say, "So be it." Like amen, amen. The hidden become manifest. So, the heavens and the earth bear witness to what is in us, family, as above and so below. And also there's another measure that I was wanting to point out dealing with man being a thought of Allah, and all thoughts of Allah are infinite. They are not measured up by time, for things that are concerned with time begin and end. And the thoughts of Allah are everlasting, of the past and unto the never-ending days to come. And so is man the spirit man. But man, like every other thought of Allah, was but a seed that held within itself the potencies of Allah, just as the seed of any plant of earth holds deep within itself the attributes of every part of that special plant. You know, what are the potencies of Allah? Spirit clothed with soul made in the form of Allah. Justice, mercy, love, and right. Everything else is a shadow of that. When you get into the realm of plant, protoplasm, beast, earth, and man. Yeah, all of these are part of you too. But when it comes to you being able to govern yourself, you got to be able to rise above the manifest. So it was stated, if we understand the spirit of the God is in us, well, right there in your Piscean records, for those who you love it, our Christian family, Corinthians, 1 Corinthians 6:20. In your King James Version, it say, for ye are bought with a price, and therefore glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's. So we trying to teach you how to glorify the God within the body, within your body. Your book say this. You see? And that ain't Old Testament philosophy. That's New Testament philosophy. You got to glorify the God within your body. You see? Not the God outside of the self. So in Surah 15, ayat 29, follow this up in Yusuf Ali. It says, when I have fashioned him, and he was speaking to the angels. He was talking to the angels, and even Iblis. He was present. When I have fashioned him in due proportion and breathed into him of my spirit, fall ye down in obeisance unto him. This is Allah giving them command. You see? So in all actuality, angel is a thought of Allah manifested in the flesh. Even that Iblis in you, or that shaitan is you, is a thought manifested in the lower self. So you have to command them to submit to the God within you. And this is where you begin to govern your heavens and your earth within. You see, you got to make that devil in the lower self submit. You got to make them angels, which are your thoughts, manifested in you, also move in accordance, hear and obey. That's what angels do. Angels don't buck God. They do what the Most High said. And last but not least, so spirit man, as a seed of Allah, the seed of Allah, held deep within himself the attributes of every part of Allah. Now, seeds are perfect. Yes, perfect as the source from which they come, but they are not unfolded into life made manifest. The child is as perfect as his mother is, so man, the seed, must be deeply planted in a soil that he might grow, unfold as the bud unfolds to show the flower. The human seed that came forth from the heart of Allah was foreordained to be the Lord of the plane of soul and of the plane of things made manifest. So Allah, the husbandman of everything that is, threw forth this human seed into the soil of soul. It grew apace, and man became a living soul. He became the Lord of all the kingdom of the soul. Hark now, let every creature hear. The plane of soul, and it's calling everything in creation a witness again, is but the ether of the spirit vibrate not so fast. In the slower rhythm of this plane, the essence of life are manifest, the perfumes and the odors and the true sensations of all of love manifest. You got to purify your hearts and mind with love, to be the love. Then, for those of you who love the Piscean records, well, what did it say to you? 1 Corinthians 3:16 through 17, King James Version. Know ye not that ye are the temple of God, and the Spirit of God dwelleth in you? If any man defile the temple of God, him shall God destroy. For the temple of God is holy, which temple you are. There it is again. Well, what did the Grand Holy Quran say about that? Surah 95, ayat 4, Yusuf Ali. We have indeed created man in the best of modes. You the temple of perfection. What you doing defiling yourself and not being pure? Why are you not purifying your heart and mind? Don't you know that you are the temple of perfection? You, the great pyramid, or as we call it, executive ruler, or they say Pharaoh or Per'ah, the Ra Mesu and the Mesu Ra, the son of the great God. Come on now, S-U-N. So all of this, once we understand, family, has to do with a spiritual initiatory cycle. First half of the process lead from your birth, into self-development. Then we have self-balancing, reorientation from the first to the second, all the way up to the third degree of initiation in your life cycle. Then we go from the fourth, which has to do with reorientation, going into transition, where you become adept. That's your fifth stage of initiation into the sixth, Bodhisattva, become the Buddha. We talked about that earlier. And the divine hermaphrodite, it don't have nothing to do with having two different parts of the masculine and feminine. This is talking about the annihilation of the concept of masculine and feminine, because we're dealing with Ish and Isha. This is the real enlightened Buddha. The original Buddha represented the God within. That's the seventh stage of initiation. So that's dealing with the life cycle in general, family. So we wanted to bring that to you as well. And the rest of it is self-explanatory when it comes to chapter 1. But we know that, all of this has to do with self-mastery. And we understand that inverted thoughts come from an inverted thought pattern, upside down. Human knowledge ain't got nothing to do with being the God you are. So gratitude, family. Islamism without the schism. So at this particular time, what we're going to do is we're going to go to our officials in reference to dealing with this measure, but we're going to see if we have anybody that's biting at the bit to give a measure that they feel like our family want to hear. This is your opportunity. As we say, we were going to give a little bit of allotted time. Go ahead, family. Anything Amor has to say, just don't try to sing all night. Islam. All right. Going once. Going twice. Well, you indeed thrice blessed. Ain't nothing wrong with the silence of Allah, because we can hear the silent voice that speak within. So let us call forth at this particular time our officials, starting with Sister Alset Amun El. Islam, are you there, goddess and queen? Islam, sister.
Gratitude. First, let me rise and give all praises to Allah and all honors to our Prophet Nabi Ali, honors to our Moorish American government, all officials of our government, and our citizens. Honors to you, God man, our National Assistant Grand Chief of Moorish America, Dr. Shadu Meti, and Muhammad Shepswell, for opening our conference call to law and for bringing forth a grand Moorish perspective this evening. Honors to all our Moorish kin for their grand measures brought forth, and to our family that's on social media listening. Honors on our topic. He had instituted laws for the governments of the world. He had wonderfully verbed them in all beings, and each by his nature conforming to his will. Islam. In listening to the measures brought forth and what you've been saying more, National Assistant Grand Chief, it has so much different levels that one could come from. And my understanding is looking at how things have been brought forth to the nations of the world, to the nations of the earth, and listen to how you break down the different understanding dealing with the laws that have been instituted and how they have changed certain words and the languages that you have to be able to understand where they're coming from, because by them changing certain letters and the way they pronounce the pronunciation, and you're dealing with languages that are foreign to most of us. But that tells me that we have to really learn, because in ancient times there wasn't a language that a Moor could not speak, and so that tells us the distance that we have fallen from, and we understand why. But we also understand that the prophet said this is a new era of time now, so he wants us to not only learn the language. That's one of the things he said, learn the language. And so when he said learn the language, he wants us to learn to get the degree of understanding from which they're speaking. And that could be in any tongue, not just the English, because that's not our language dominantly. That's for Asiatics. So when he's talking that, he's dealing with an international level, because I'm looking at this from a different degree, a different level of understanding now. Because first I thought it was just what we know right here in the West. But listening to the class this evening, I could see why the prophet said learn the language. He never said what specific language he was speaking of. That means he's talking at a whole nother level of understanding. That's why he said, as we grow and unfold, the measure of semen go down to oneself is what gives us the understanding. And so unfoldment is key in understanding these different degrees and levels that you brought forth this evening. And so the laws that he has instituted to the world, to the governments of the world, when I think about it, it's on the same level, because it's dealing with truth. And one truth doesn't contradict another. Now, if they go against the law that he's instituted, that's when the chaos steps in, because they're not obeying the ancient teachings of our forefathers that were brought forth. And we understand what's going on around the world, period. They're always going contrary to the truth. And those that seek to be the truth, they try to remove them off the manifest, because they want the world to continue to stew in the falsehood, in the muck and mire of these disobedient laws that they bring forth. But our prophet let us know that don't worry. One of the things I remember, the prophet said, don't worry about how you're going to be saved. Just know that it's going to be in a conflict that cannot be told in words. And so this conflict dealing with the higher and the lower self, if we know well our lower self, then we know the illusions of the world. So we understand when the lower self is on the manifest. And so it says he has buried them in all beings, and each by his nation conforming to his will. So conforming to the will of Allah, the will of our ancient forefathers' teaching, the will of the universal order of things, it's all one, because it's dealing with truth, and it's dealing with studying self and knowing how to use discernment to see the truth and see the falsehood that's being brought forth or disguised as truth. So we have to be able to differentiate. So dealing with the principles, our 5 divine principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, our 5 actions of the soul: thinking, reasoning, understanding, remembrance, and the will, that governs how we use our thinking apparatus and able to see the truth in everything. So this was a grand demonstration. More gratitude for giving me the opportunity to speak Islam, and peace and love to all my Moorish kin.
And Islamism, and peace to you as well, sister. Gratitude for that measure. All right. Islam. Well, let us call forth our National Grand Mufti, Dr. Khonshu Mark Herube. Islam. You there, Grand Man? Okay, Islam. Well, we know that our brother must be about our Father God Allah's business. Praise be to Allah. Honors to that family, and tribe as well. Gratitude. Well, I will say this in between going toward our Grand Secretary of the State, and I actually had a measure, dealing with the other portion where we are told in our chapter 1 that he will stand untrammeled upon the plane of soul where he must full complete his victories. And unnumbered foes will stand before man upon the plane of soul. And these he must overcome, overcome them every one. And thus hope will be ever be his baking light. And there is no failure for the human soul, for Allah is leading on and victory is sure. Man cannot die. Spirit man is one with Allah. And while Allah lives, man cannot die. When man is conquered, every foe upon the plane of soul, the seed will have full open out and will have unfolded in holy breath. That's that symbol with the prophet standing there with his hands exalted. The garb of soul within have served its purpose well, and man will need it nevermore, and it will pass and be no more, right? And it will pass and be no more, and man will then attain to the blessedness of perfectness at one with Allah. That's the Kemetic teaching of the Samai Tawi. The uniting of lower and upper Kemet right there, becoming one with the Neter. This is how one truly becomes the great house of the Pharaoh, the Per'ah, the temple of perfected man. Spirit clothed with soul made in the form of Allah. Every teaching, remember? Yeah, the temple of God, the spirit of God, every one of the teachings saying the same thing. But yet and still, you got people out here fighting and arguing and not applying what it is their particular book, has reference to them. So whose fault is that, family? So now, let us call forth our Grand National Secretary of the State, Sister Hatshepsut Rakat Ma'at and Pu, Tutankhamun Bey. Islam, you there, goddess and queen and scribes?
Closest of thought, gratitude.
Gratitude.
Grand class, gratitude. Islam Moorish kin, first of all, I want to rise, giving all praises to our Father God Allah, giving honor to our Prophet, Noble Drew Ali, the last prophet in these days and times, giving honor to our Moorish American government, all of our officials, staff, with angels, muftis, divine ministers, most especially our Moorish kin. Giving honor to all those Moors that spoke before me, all those Moors that will speak after me. Giving a special honor to our National Assistant Grand Sheikh of Moorish America, Dr. Shedwa Menti and Wahed Shepsuel, for opening our meeting according to law and also hosting a Grand Moorish Perspectives class this evening. Giving honor to our National Assistant Grand Secretary of State, Dr. Dendra Nia Kirchbey, for taking registration and reading our subject chapter for the week. Our subject, coming from our chapter on religion, Ayat 10, he hath instituted laws for the government of the world. He hath wonderfully varied them in all beings, and each, by his nature, conformeth to his will. This has been such a powerful class, as all of my Moorish kin have brought forth and stated. Gratitude to you, Dr. Shaheed. When we look at the nature of the self, we're dealing with self-mastery, recognizing the fact that we and our Creator are one. That's a grand blessing and a treasure in itself. And when you were bringing forth the various definitions to let us know the difference of conforming to the will versus submitting to the will, just being able to comply with the rules. We speak about the rules of divinity, to obey, follow, adhere, harmonize, respect. All of this is brought forth in our chapter on religion, which is in essence dealing with being able to see with divinity the glory of your Creator and just how wonderfully we have been created, in His image and likeness. And I tell you, the thing that really stood out to me is in reference to when you brought forth that Pharaoh's lifetime is eternal repetition. His limit is eternal duration. And all of this we find in our Moorish Holy Quran, as with all books of truth. So when we look at the soul dealing with the enlightenment of wrong and right, and recognizing the fact that the virtues and the vices are our own, we're responsible for it, as we had stated before. You can't sit there and think that you're going to dirty up something which is not natural to us and think you not be held accountable for it. That's not in accord or in balance with universal law. So when we look at how we have got to stop complicating the simple and just be the plain truth, which we were, love divine, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. So being here in the slowest plane that there is, we've got lessons to learn on this plane, lessons to learn on our soul plane, until we come into the consciousness of the unfoldment, being able to solve the fix and be that God that we are. So no matter how we want to skirt around the issue or dance around or think that, this doesn't apply to us, each and every one has got to demonstrate this particular journey of divinity. And we carry many ages as our National Assistant Grand Sheik brought forth until all of our lessons are learned. So, this has just been such a powerful measure. There's so many keys that you brought forth for. Much gratitude to you and much gratitude to all of our family online, our Moorish kin. Peace and love.
And Islam. And gratitude to you as well, Grand National Secretary of the State. Want to give honors to you for all that you do as well. And gratitude for the lessons and the blessings that you bring forth in exercising your fire. Well, speaking of exercising the fire, let us call forth the grand man. Burning of falsehood, root and branch with the book of fire. Please, come on in here, Grand National Chairman Dr. Acting Perty M. Heru. Where you at? And I know that scimitar blaze. Islam, Grand Man.
Islam, let me rise, give praises to Allah and honor the Prophet Noble Ali. Say much honor to Noble Ali, the last prophet in these days and time that was set to bring us everlasting gospel, the everlasting gospel of Allah. And he did just that. Moors, we are so blessed. If you know your nationality, if you know who made you, where'd you get it from? It's just an honor and a blessing, Moors, just to be here, just to know who is Allah. Can you see him? Where's the nearest place you can meet him? Because, coming up here in the West, for those of you that know, because I've been through there, and more, look, we didn't know what it was. Them people, they was teaching you some of everything that you didn't know, and you thought you knew everything. Then find out till you came to the more science, who made you? Oh my goodness. What? The great God made me? Ooh. And now you can't be nothing but the message that you bring. It's just an honor, blessing, more, because we know who the last prophet in these days and time is. We know the duty of a prophet. We even know what year. We know our nationality. Who in the world going to come along and teach you your nationality that wasn't trying to take advantage of you? And so it's an honor and blessing, for the last prophet in these days and time. Yeah, and not only that, but he brought you your religion too. That's what I'm talking about. So more than just an honor and blessing, I want to give much honor to all those that spoke before me, those that speak it. Oh, please, more. We just honor and bless. If you know your nationality, you blessed. Islam is without a schism.
Islamism without the schism. That's what I'm talking about. We give honors to you, Chairman, for that special drawing, because it don't get no plainer than that, family. That's very important. A lot of people don't know that the scimitar, of consciousness and justice is cutting through the ethers. Separating all falsehood, even when it comes to time to build up the family of nation. Ones think that they going to war with you and they going to war with the great God Allah. You know, and next thing you know, you don't see it, but what one meant to come in opposition to you end up building you up as a people. Just like what we seeing going on with the world right now. You know, it's only a matter of time before, you know, everybody that's been put in bondage has been oppressed become those who rise up out of that state of condition. You know, so we want to give honors to all of y'all on the front line, family, and everybody out there that's doing the work of uplifting fallen humanity in the way that they know how. You know, and we know our national grand sheik is on a mission, you know, but we'll just call to make sure and see if he may be present, you know, before we move to the next level, and then we'll take our meeting to a close. Is our national grand sheik present, Dr. Serapis Amin Rael, Islam?
National Assistant Grand Sheik, he's still on a mission. More gratitude.
Okay, gratitude, Islamism. We just checking. Islamism. Well, it's been real, family. But know that this is a grand drawing, and again, this is our prophet that has brought us this knowledge. So we showing you that everything this brother taught was rooted in ancient Kemet, you know, is rooted in the knowledge of our ancestors. I mean, what more is there that we need to know at this special point? But get into this knowledge, learn some of these things, you know, and in the stead of our sheik and closing out, I will give our family this portion of the measure right here, coming from chapter 1. And these soul attributes became a body beautiful, a multitude of lessons man must learn upon the plane of soul. Here he tears many ages until his lessons are all learned. Upon the boundary of the plane of soul, the ether began to vibrate slower still, and then the essences took on a finer garb. The perfumes and the odors and the true sensations and the all of love were clothed in flesh, and man was clothed in flesh. Perfected man must pass through all the ways of life. These ways of life represent degrees, family. And so a carnal was full manifest, that physical, a nature that spring forth from fleshy things. Without a foe, a soldier never knows his strength. And though, right, thought must be developed by the exercise of strength. And so this carnal nature soon became a foe. It's your own lower self, family. It's the carnal self became the foe. Not somebody outside, not the brother next to you, the sister next to you. Your carnal nature became a foe that you, man, must fight, that you might be the strength of Allah made manifest. Let every living thing stand still here. Man is the Lord of all the plane of manifest, protoplast, of mineral, of plant, of beast. But he gave up his birthrights just to gratify his lower self. But man will regain his lost estate, his heritage, but he must do it in a conflict that cannot be told in words. Yeah, he must suffer trials and temptations manifold, but let him know that cherubim and seraphim that rule the stations of the Son and Spirit of the mighty Allah, who rule the solar stars, are his protectors and his guide, and they will lead to victory. Man will be fully saved and redeemed, perfected by the things he suffers on the plane of flesh and on the plane of soul. And when man has conquered carnal things, his garb of flesh will then have served its purpose well, and it will fall and be no more. Keep that in mind, family. All of this represents the different cycles of life. It's an initiatory process, dealing with one half being the first of you coming into who you are, and the second half dealing with the completion of who you are. Know thyself and thy Father God Allah. January 15, 1929. A warning from the prophet to be read at every meeting. I hereby inform all citizens that they must end all radical agitating speeches while at work in their homes or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any citizen or group of citizens who hold malicious feelings toward the government or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where the prophet found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet, noble Drew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the government is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out the divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the government. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. By the order of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, we bring forth this divine decree. Chapter 25, a holy covenant of the Asiatic nations. Yea, the children of one father provided for by his care, and the breasts of one mother have given you suck. Let the bonds of affection therefore unite thee with thy brothers, that peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house. And when ye separate in the world, remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity, and prefer not a stranger before thy own blood. If thy brother is in adversity, assist him. If thy sister is in trouble, forsake her not. So shall the fortunes of thy father contribute to the support of his whole race, and his care be continued to you all in your love to each other. Moorish movement, divine movement, everlasting movement. Go in peace, Muslims. Islam. All right. Want to give honors to our family as well for coming in. Our family out there in social media. Honors to our family faithfully checking in. Brother Born Dog, Gary Miles Bay, Anti-American, Noble Brian, Ronnie Dwight. We give honors to you for giving a loud voice to what it is you manifest. Our sister Lit, Living Truth, and Prophetess Keys of Truth. We give honors to you, Herschel Sherwood Bay, Charles Royale, thank you. Raheem Shamari, thank you. Charles Duff Bay for showing up. You know, Malika Shamsuddin, Adrian Johnson Bay, all of y'all, you know, for coming in here and just being present every time we demonstrate this. Because it shows that y'all honor, you know, who y'all are, and y'all also honor, you know, the truth. So again, honors to our family on our conference call as well. You know, and go in peace, family. We'll see you in the next session. Islam.
Great class, Dr. Shaheed. Peace and love.
Great class. Peace and love. Great class.
Great class.
Peace and love, family. Great class.
Great class. Love all you boys. Don't forget to pay your dues.
This
Peace
session
and love.
is being recorded.
Grand class.
Remember, victory is cured. Peace and love. Love y'all.
Islam. Peace and love, Moors. Support your prophet and support your government.
Gratitude, Dr. Shaheed.
Islam. There's a lot of nations out there striving toward independence, and they getting it, family. We got to stand with each other to get it as well. Islam. We love your family. We'll see you in the next session. Peace and love.